Hello, everybody. Welcome into the 40 Acres Postgame Show, brought to you by MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, as you see scrolling down and below. I am Matthew Miller, and this guy with me is D4 Sports. Before we start this video, can you please hit that like button? Please subscribe down below. Helps out a lot. Go over to D4 Sports. Do the same with his channel. Like his stuff. Subscribe to his content. Let's jump into this. Texas wins this game versus UTSA 41-20. Very sluggish in the first half, come out, play a lot better in the second half. And again, this to me was all about culture, showing our culture. And there's still stuff to work on, in my opinion, because if our culture is where it needs to be, championship level, or where we want it to be, which is a championship level, we come out and punch this team in the mouth early, and we didn't really do that. But we did. There is a positive here. There were games that were basically like this one, tied very close at halftime, where we had the lead, and we would blow them in the second half. And guess what? We did not do that today. We played much better in the second half, stretched out the lead down the stretch. They only scored 3 points in the second half, and we ended up winning the game. What were your thoughts on this, D4?
Kudos to UTSA. They come out with a good game plan, caught us slipping props to their film study review on that onside kick with our guys leaving early. Gutsy call there, and then what a catch by their receiver in the end zone on that double pass. But things can be improved on. I'd like to see the run game be more consistent from start to finish. I mean, we started pouring it on in the second half, and Bijan, of course, 20 carries, 183 yards, 3 touchdowns. He averaged 9.2 a carry, but those 2 big runs is what brought that average up. But more consistency, defense, I thought. I really didn't understand why we weren't spying their quarterback, Frank Harris. He kind of had a field day. He's very good at escaping pressure and making plays on the run. So, but overall, it showed exactly what I wanted to see, is adjustments made for the second half. We didn't do that last year. We made the adjustments. We did what needed to be done, covered the spread, and I couldn't be happier to come out of this week with a win.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the things that did bother me, especially in the first half, they did a little bit more in the second half, but they were giving up slants and 10-yard like comeback routes all day long in the first half. Like they were playing off coverage, and Frank Harris be like, okay, you're going to give it to me. Here it is. Just lay it out there, 5 to 7, 5 to 10 yards every time, basically. And that's basically stopped in the second half. And I was wondering why they were doing that. It didn't make much sense to me, especially when we didn't do that versus Bama. Like we were up on them, and Bama has a much better wide receiver. Well, I wouldn't say much better wide receiving course, but much better athletes than UTSA on the outside, in my opinion. Not receivers overall, but just athletic wise, I think they're better. And they have obviously a better quarterback, even though Frank Harris, like you said, he's a gamer, he's a good player, but he's not Bryce Young, the Heisman Trophy winner. So that didn't really make much sense to me, but I'm glad with the adjustments made. What are some players who stood out to you? Obviously, or what stood out to you in general? Obviously, Bijan Robinson comes to mind, had a hell of a game, had 3 touchdowns, had over 200 yards total. He basically put the team on his back. He did amazing things in this game. The one thing that is just insane with Bijan Robinson is his balance. You see him get hit multiple times and somehow keep his balance, and that's one of the things that always stands out to me with Bijan. What about you, Brandon?
I would say offensively, Hudson Card made the decisions he needed to make. That long run that he had in I believe the third quarter, just absolutely outstanding athleticism. To be on a hobbled ankle and to make a play like that, definitely it was a momentum booster. Of course, Jahdae Barron with the pick 6 was the momentum shifter, but I credit Hudson Card for getting it rolling on offense when it came to that long run. And on defense, I have to go Jalen Ford, man. That kid was everywhere.
Yeah, other than the first game, he played great in the Alabama game. He's played great in this game. He didn't play great in the first game, but so far so good. And obviously, the first game of the season versus ULM, if you're going to show up the rest of them, I don't really care. But I'm glad he's been able to show up. He's played like I think they said he was the team MVP last week, and he should have been. He was very good. going into next week, we play Texas Tech. We open up Big 12 play. What are your main concerns with this team?
Giving up the little simple stuff. Texas Tech is going to look at this film and they're going to see some of the same routes that UTSA ran. I think we need to tighter coverage and get pressure. I mean, we had pressure tonight, but the missed tackles have to stop. I mean, we can't afford to hit the quarterback in the backfield and not be able to bring him down. We can't afford to hit the running back in the backfield and him squared out for a 10-yard run. I mean, that's just things that have to be worked on. It should already have been worked on, but tackling is the biggest issue that I've seen tonight.
Yeah, that was definitely the biggest thing I've seen tonight is tackling, and I think that's more of a lack of concentration, especially you saw it a little bit less in the second half. And it's one of those things where if you're not engaged in the game, it's very easy to miss tackles. And if you're not willing to go 100% full throttle to make a tackle, and the other guys, I mean, this is UTSA's biggest game of the year. This is their biggest game. They're going to come out and play like we did versus Alabama. And if we don't match that intensity like we did in the first half, you see a tie game. Where if you see we come out in the second half and play with much more intense style and do better fundamentally, then we win that second half very easily, very convincingly. So I'd agree with you on the tackling point just based off this game, but I think we're good there going forward as long as we're engaged. And I think going forward in the Big 12, we will be. My biggest thing is the deep ball. With Hudson Card in there, he cannot hit a deep ball. He's hit one deep ball as a starting quarterback at the University of Texas. One. So that is my biggest concern because if we cannot push the ball down the field, people are going to eventually just say, guess what? Let's play bump with these guys, force them to beat us over the top, and see what happens. And the thing is, UTSA doesn't have a great defense, and neither does Texas Tech for the most part. They've gotten better, but they're still not great. So luckily for us, the next good defense we play is Oklahoma. So I think we'll be able to run the ball pretty convincingly versus most of these teams that we play in the next couple coming weeks. And hopefully, Quinn Ewers will be back by Oklahoma. I know there are reports that he's progressing faster than thought, which is even better. He's been out there with shorts on and stuff like that during warmups. I don't know if he threw, but he was out there, so that's good. He did throw?
Yeah,
okay, so that's good. So he could be back even sooner. I think we should go in next week with Hudson as a starting quarterback regardless, and then from there on out, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, at the end of the game, I didn't see him during the game, but at the end, I seen him. He was suited up as well.
Okay.
So that was surprising to see, definitely. But yeah, he was throwing during pregame and everything. So maybe if Hudson struggles, you never know. These kids, they're young. They go on the men better than some of us older folks that can pull something and be down for months. But I was surprisingly happy with Hudson today. His stat line, it wasn't eye popping, 15 of 23, 161 yards and a touchdown. But him being hobbled and him being, not able to go 100%, step into his throws. But like you said, the deep ball is an issue. And in Steve Sarkisian's offense, that's definitely a thing that you have to have at your disposal. You have to be able to stretch the field to open up the intermediate stuff.
Yeah, and the thing is, if a team was able to stop the run and the deep ball isn't there, then the offense is going to be very hard to score on offense. So that will be interesting going into next week. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know enough about Texas Tech's defense right now to be able to say one way or the other if they can do that or not, or if I'm confident they can do that or not. I don't think they can just based off past history. And right now, I definitely don't think West Virginia's defense can do it. So we got very lucky with who we're starting out Big 12 play with, because if we're talking Kansas State, like Oklahoma opens up with Kansas State, if we're talking that or an Oklahoma State to open up with, I think we would have been in a lot more trouble with with the injury to Quinn Ewers that he sustained. Let's get to a couple of these comments. Wasn't always pretty, but a solid win by DMS 1983. 100%. At the end of the day, we want it to look a certain way, but there's a lot of teams that have lost this year to worse teams, and we won by 21 points at the end of the day. We even covered the spread, so that's a good thing. And there's a lot of good things that we take out of this. Again, I just want to see us come out more engaged in the first half versus teams that we think we're better than. That's what we need to do. That's still the missing part of this team. I think so. They've answered enough of it right now that I can say that I think the halftime adjustments, like you said, D4, we made those, it seems like, and it seems like going forward we'll continue to make those. So that's one thing that was kind of answered tonight, but we still need to be engaged coming in early. But this is another thing by DMS 1983 as well. Best news, no more games on Longhorn Network this year. Thank God, because I don't have Longhorn Network, so I have to stream these games, and it is so hard to find, and it's terrible. I do not like it. It's not fun. So all the games will be available to me now, so that's nice.
I have Sling TV, and I was watching on there, and midway through the third quarter, it cut off.
Oh God.
So I had to find a stream.
Yeah. And the issue with streams is like there's a couple of them, but they were doing the same thing. They would like cut off and then bounce back. Mine was at least bounce back like a quarter and a half. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? But I finally found one. And the second half was good for me, but the first half was so spotty and it sucks. I wonder how like what the ratings are with Longhorn Network, like how many people actually watch the games on there. I would be interested to see that. They're probably not good.
No, not at all. That's frustrating, and thankfully that'll go away when we hit the SEC. And
yeah, thankfully.
SEC Network is pretty good about putting games out there and staying solid. So, and it comes on cable TV. So,
what are your thoughts on Xavier Worthy not scoring a touchdown yet this year?
It's a product of quarterback play. He's a home run hitter, and he's a guy that can get in space, and I just don't think that we've been able to scheme good enough to get him into open space to let him hit that home run ball. He had two DBs beat tonight, but Hudson couldn't deliver the deep ball. So I think Quinn Ewers is in there. He may have a couple touchdowns in this game, but I think it's a product of Hudson Card not being able to step into his throws, not being able to get him into space. It could be a variation of different things. I think we emphasized our run game in this game. Of course, only throwing the ball 23 times in this game, but Jordan Whittington showed up. 4 catches, 56 yards, and Xavier Worthy 441. And what I love the most about this game is when we got into the red zone, we handled business.
Yeah,
I know we had to settle for a field goal, right there at the end of the first half, but it is what it is. Seeing us put a touchdown on the board in the red zone was very encouraging to me. The play calling in the red zone was very encouraging. I know we had to settle for a field goal like late in the game, but that was just we're not going to go for it on fourth down to run up the score. So other than that, back to Xavier, I just think we have to scheme better for him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I don't think we're scheming like the offense around him, kind of like we were last year. Especially, we did that in the Alabama game more of because like we know like he's our home run guy and we got to give him the ball to have a chance to beat Bama. But I don't think Steve Sarkisian's willing to like run his full playbook against teams like UTSA. So I don't think it's too much to worry about. My main concern is if like Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington gets hurt, like what are we going to do from there? Because Casey Kane's okay, but he comes up with like one big catch a game and that's really it. We don't really have a number 3 guy that's like been solidified and that we can trust in. So that's my big concern with this wide receiver room right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I really, really wanted to see Red or Thompson get in there and maybe put one of them put Brennan Thompson opposite of Xavier Worthy, so they have to account for Thompson's speed and Xavier's speed, and that's very hard to game plan against. But maybe he's not ready, just being a true freshman. But I think something like that, scheme wise, could open up X to make a big play.
Yeah, it would be nice to have him out there for a couple plays just to see what he's got. Like have like a 5 to 7 foot like playbook for him, so he could like just get his feet wet and learn what to do in the offense. But I don't even know if they have that for him. Has he even taken a snap yet?
Yeah, late in the Louisiana Monroe game, him and Savion Red were both in there.
Okay.
But other than that, I've not seen much of him. Definitely didn't see him in the Alabama game.
No.
And didn't see him in this game either.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Savion Red. Like, you hear all these reports of him being so good. I'm just surprised that they haven't gotten him in the game at all. Jatavian Sanders was also kind of quiet tonight. He was not as productive as he usually has been the first two games of the season, but
One
just
catch for 5 yards.
yeah. So it's I don't know. It was weird tonight. We can chalk it up to the backup quarterback, and that's fine. But if this continues to go forward, even with Quinn Ewers in there, then I'll be concerned. I don't think it will, or hopefully it won't be, because then it would be actually a gigantic concern, because we'd probably have lost a couple of games at that point if we can't find consistent weapons around Xavier Worthy, Jordan Winnington, and Bijan Robinson. We just need one more guy to be consistent with his play, and I think Casey Kane can do that. But the thing is, in every game you'll make one catch and then kind of disappear the rest of the game. So we need to find someone else, and hopefully when Jaleel Billingsley does serve his suspension, he can help out as well, because he's a very good weapon to have. He can stretch the field as a tight end.
For sure. I want to see more consistency out of this receiving core. Like I said, more consistency in the run game. I mean, Bijan is going to be Bijan. I mean, running for 183 yards and 3 touchdowns today. You know, he kind of imposed his will in the second half. But on those runs, it wasn't like there was a hole that a Mack truck could go through. It was him hitting the hole, making a move, cutting back, and getting vertical, and just he did most of that on his own.
Yeah. What is the main concern for you on defense other than the tackling? Is it still getting to the quarterback consistently?
Yeah, finishing plays. Like I said, you know, we got pressure on Frank Harris. His escapability was phenomenal. I'll give him that. But you know, there's a few times that we got back there that, you know, we should have had him, but we didn't finish, didn't wrap up, didn't, you know, just finish the play.
Yeah. Who do you look to on defense as someone that you think can break out in conference play and start to create like a pass rush or big play turnover ability for this defense? Because I think we're going to have to do one or the other. If you can't get to the cornerback, then someone in the secondary is just going to have to start making ball hawk type plays. You have to do one or the other. I just don't see. And I think the ball hawking is something that can happen more honestly than getting to the quarterback. Because if you don't have a guy that can just get there down after down, it's kind of hard to see that progress throughout the season. I feel like that takes a couple years, and you may not even have that guy on the roster this year.
I have to say Sorrell, or, you know, with the blitz package with the guy that had the most ridiculous targeting penalty that I've seen this year, DeMario Overshown. Bringing him in on a blitz. You know, you've seen, you know, the few times that he did get sent on a blitz, he was in there creating havoc. And the one sack that, of course, got called targeting when they went face mask to face mask, he did not use the crown of his helmet. He did not launch head down. They hit face mask to face mask, and they called it targeting. So.
Yeah. I mean, I've lost my faith in officials, so I'm not really surprised that they called that, but it is what it is. Obviously, it sucks, but we still get the W, and I would agree with you. I think Barron Sorrell is the one guy for me that if we're going to have a pass rush, that's where it's going to come from. I could also see Byron Murphy consistently from the interior, probably generating a little bit of a pass rush, but those are really the only two guys on defense that I could see doing it on a somewhat consistent basis. I think someone like an Anthony Cook is going to have to step up and start creating forced fumbles, turnovers, stuff like that. And then also, I love when we bring the corner blitzes. I think if we do that at the right times, like we did in the Alabama game, especially if you do it on the blind side of the quarterback, you can force turnovers that way. So I think those are some ways we can generate turnovers and pressure. What do you think of this upcoming Texas Tech game? Are you worried? What are your concerns? Stuff like that.
Like I said, I think they're going to look back on this film and they're going to see the comeback route that they got. They're going to see the little hitch routes. They did a very good job scheming in this game. You know, when we did bring the pressure off the corner, you know, the hot routes, the receiver being able to sit there and be in sync with the quarterback. Just the Franklin catch when we brought pressure off the edge from the nickel. they're just flipping it out there in the face of the pressure. They're back. They do film study just like we do film study, and I think they're going to see things like that, and they're going to try to exploit it.
Yeah, and I mean Texas Tech just lost today to I think a decent North Carolina State team, 27-14. I don't know. I'm just looking at the box score. Did Donovan Smith get benched in that game, or did he get hurt?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
he was looking. I'm looking at his stats. He went 21 of 36, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Then the backup Morton went 4 for 7 with 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. So I'm not sure if he got hurt or he just played bad and was pulled. But that bodes well because I think our defense, it's probably not as good as North Carolina State's because North Carolina State does have a pretty good defense, but they're still. But I think we're close enough to where we can probably give them some of the same issues. Especially, no offense, but if you're only throwing for 214 yards on 36 attempts, 5.9 yards average, that's not very good as a quarterback. And if he's your starter, that's not very good, like I said. But again, if he's hurt, then we're playing with a third string quarterback versus them. I feel very confident going into that game. And we may be getting some lucky breaks that we didn't get last year. That's the thing. Last year we were the team that was hurt, and we would always self-implode in the second half. So maybe we'll catch some breaks this year, hopefully.
Yeah, we have injuries in certain positions. It was good to see Deshaun Jameson out there. Of course, he had a couple of key breakups in the defensive backfield, but our secondary has stayed pretty healthy. Our linebacking core, defensively, we've stayed pretty healthy. Offensively, did you see Cole Hudson came back in the game?
Yeah, after one play.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure. I wasn't paying attention. After he had went out, I wasn't paying attention to too much. My main focus is on our left tackle, and he had himself a game as well. And this offensive line, I want to see. I want to see more improvement. And like I said, I'll repeat myself for probably the third or fourth time. Is consistency in the run game. We have the hogs up front to do so, and Jake Majors and his snap infractions. That's 2 in 2 games.
Yeah,
you can't double pump that snap, and then point at the defensive tackle like he jumped off sides. It's just.
Yeah, that's the second one he's had this year, and we talked about that. Like in my opinion, you got 1 a year as a junior. Like the max, he's already over that, so he needs to stop with that. It's enough. And there's no excuse because if you look at the guys around him, Kelvin Banks is probably our best offensive lineman as a true freshman. So I don't really see why you're making all these mistakes. And then also Cole Hudson has been very good as well. So our offensive line is ahead of what all us Texas fans thought. I thought we were going to be pretty good this year, but I didn't think we were going to be as good as we are. I thought at best we're talking about close to average, but if we got to average, then I was thinking Big 12 championship. And I would say our offensive line is an average offensive line. So we've got everything we need other than the quarterback. I really want to see a full game with the full playbook being run for Quinn Ewers. Like you didn't see that versus Louisiana Monroe. It's very vanilla. And then Alabama, you see it, but you only see it for a quarter. And he was great, but it was only a quarter. And then we don't see it tonight because you have Hudson Card at quarterback. So we really don't know what we have 3 games in, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't want to play survival mode until Quinn gets back.
Yeah,
I want full on. If Hudson's going to be the second string guy, he needs to be prepared fully in the playbook to get our playmakers open because we have playmakers all over the field. Xavier Worthy, there's no reason he should only have 41 receiving yards in a game. Jordan Whittington, 40-something. Jatavian Sanders, 1 catch for 5 yards. These guys should have, 70, 80 yards apiece in this offense like we've seen Sark do in other offenses. I don't want to play survival mode until Quinn gets back. That is a ridiculous way to play, and that's a way to get yourself beat.
Yeah, it's a recipe to get yourself beat if you're just sitting back and waiting for good things to happen to you instead of going out and making good things happen for yourself, which I think we kind of did in the first half. Like I said, I think it was that combined with a lack of just all-out intensity. Like we were not intense in the first half whatsoever. We came out with a little bit more in the second half and imposed our will and ended up winning. But I would agree with you. I think we need to be more aggressive. I think I would like to see more up-tempo offense with Hudson Card. And if he's able to just add more to the running game, like I know Steve Sarkisian doesn't really like to do it, but he can run. So use that to your advantage and let him run read options at some points in the game. I'm not asking for a lot. Run 6 to 8 of those plays a game to keep the defense honest. And that's all I'm asking for. And I would agree. DMS 1983's left another comment. Should be an easy win next week, but I don't trust to make anything easy. I would agree it should be, but hypothetically it should be. But we have not seen that with this Texas team going forward. Tonight, like I said, was a step in the right direction because you saw them at halftime of a close game versus a team they should beat. They beat them. They got out ahead of them in the second half and beat them by 21 points. So I was fine with that. But my issue is coming out and being engaged in games, because the issue is if you're another thing, and this could happen going forward, if we get into a game and we don't have that intensity and we go down 24-0 or something like that, then what happens? Like, do we just quit? What happens there?
Yeah, you have to open it up, man. You just playing scared not to lose, it will get you beat when it comes to Big 12 competition. I'm not saying that Texas Tech is that team to do it. I'm not saying West Virginia is that team to do it either. But, the offense needs to gel together, be in the consistent playbook. I know you can't do the same things that you do with Quinn Ewers with Hudson Card. I understand that fully. He doesn't have the arm that Quinn Ewers has. He can't fit it in those tight windows. He just doesn't have the same kind of arm talent. So what I'm coming from is, if Quinn comes back from the Oklahoma game, comes back for the Oklahoma game, are we going to completely switch the offense over then? That doesn't bode well when it comes to continuity and, consistent play.
No. And that's the thing too. Like, if he comes back, I don't expect him to be sharp right away either. That's why, like, dream scenarios, he comes back for the West Virginia game. We struggle through that. Which would most likely happen if he came back for his first game and we get the win, and then he takes off again in Oklahoma, because I don't see him coming into the Oklahoma game and just picking up right where he left off. Personally, I just don't see that happening. I think it'll take him a game, maybe even 2, to get back to where he was in the Alabama game. Especially, like, if he's in there and he's not 100% confident in that injured shoulder or injured clavicle. Like, I just mentally, you can say you're fine and everything, but you're gonna compensate, and there's probably gonna be things in your mechanics that you're gonna mess up with. And then also, if he lands on it, you never know what happens from there. So hopefully he gets healthy. And guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Please help build that brand of Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. D4, plug that Patreon real quick.
Yeah, man, the Patreon be the best $5 a month that y'all ever spend. I was in there today. We have a StreamYard, kind of like what we're doing right here with me and Matthew just sitting there talking to each other. There's 9-10 guys in there chopping it up, watching games together, analyzing games, score updates, this, that, and other, just sitting there talking. And we do this nightly. We get in there and talk purely football. And it's, like I said, best $5 I've ever spent a month in my life when it comes to YouTube. You guys super chat Mark Rogers. Take one of those super chats that you would have gave and put it towards the Patreon. I mean, it's simple. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And guys, like I said, this Mark Rogers is a great brand of building college football channels and platforms like the Patreon for fans like us. So please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Go subscribe to the Patreon. Get in there, talk football with all those guys. It's a great time. Brandon, what did you think of? We'll just look at the Big 12 as a whole today. What did you think of the Oklahoma-Nebraska game, if you watched any of that?
Man, Nebraska is just a dumpster fire. Dylan Gabriel looked good. I think he was like 16-27, like 230 yards and 2 touchdowns, something like that. Eric Gray had 113 yards. But there are weaknesses in that defense. They haven't played Oklahoma hasn't played the greatest competition so far this season. But with that being said, I root for Oklahoma, period. So in that game, our former quarterback Casey Thompson didn't look too bad. I know that he got pulled in that game, but as far as the rest of the Big 12, I know Kansas State lost today to Tulane.
Wow, I did
Said
not see that.
yeah, 17-10. They absolutely played terrible, and shout out to Kansas.
Yeah.
People make fun of us for losing to Kansas. Kansas is 3-0 right now, and they beat a very good Houston team 48-30 today. And they have a stout quarterback, stunning game. He led them in rushing today, 12 carries, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. With that being said, this ain't the Kansas of past years.
No, it's not.
West Virginia ran the score up on Townsend, an FCS school, 65-7. Just they did what they were supposed to do. That they talk about. I've seen that their defense is back because they only allowed 7 points to Townsend. Baylor did what they were supposed to do against Texas State. Of course, we talked about earlier Texas Tech falling to NC State 27-14. Oklahoma, Arkansas, Pine Bluff. Iowa State took care of business against Ohio Bobcats. And I think the most shocking thing of the day is Kansas State, everybody's dark horse to win the Big 12, losing it to Tulane. That's just very, very surprising to me.
Yeah, that hurt my pick. I think I had Kansas State and Baylor, so I mean that hurts. But right now, I mean, I think it's realistic and it's possible that Kansas could be the 5th best team in the Big 12, which is crazy to say, but I mean, there's a world where that is honest and true. You have Texas, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and then from there Baylor, and then Kansas. Like that it could happen. Which would shock basically everyone in the whole country. I think I could have seen Kansas winning 4 to 5 games this year, but that would have been like 5 would have been the max for me. I think they're probably going to go bowling at this point. I think they can win another 3 games.
Yeah, my preseason, I put out a preseason ranking on my channel, and everybody was throwing a fit because I had Texas Tech at last, TCU, and West Virginia at the bottom.
I think just based on what I'm watching, I think West Virginia or TCU is probably the worst, or the 2 worst teams in the Big 12.
Yeah.
That'd be my prediction for right now. It also depends on if Donovan Smith is hurt for Texas Tech. Obviously, didn't play well today, but he's definitely going to be better than their 3rd-string quarterback. If he's out for the year, then that probably bumps them down. It's probably going to be between them and West Virginia for the worst team in the Big 12.
Yeah, for sure. Big 12 is wide open. If we play to our capability, the way we play to keep going back to the way we played Bama, blah 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 blah. But if we play that way in conference play, coming out, lights out on defense, if we played like we did today, being able to run the ball with Bijan getting 183 yards, 202 total yards and 3 touchdowns, there's no reason why we shouldn't be in the mix.
Yeah, 100%. The only way I don't see us, there's only one team I should say that if we played our best game that I think could compete with us, and that's Oklahoma. After watching them today, I know Nebraska's a dumpster fire, but Dylan Gabriel really impressed me. He's very accurate. The run that he had down the sideline was very impressive, and I think their defense under Brent Venables has gotten better. So their defense has gotten better. Their offense has gotten a little bit worse. So I think they've kind of evened out there. So I think if they played their best game, we played our best game, I think it would be a very good and close game. But that's really the only team that can compete with us talent-wise and I think coaching-wise in the Big 12. I don't think obviously Dave Aranda is a very good coach at Baylor, but they don't have the talent that us or Oklahoma do. And Oklahoma State, it's really hard for me to buy into Spencer Sanders. He's been good this year, but it's just hard for me. He hasn't played anyone yet. We'll see what happens when they actually play a good team. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Spencer Sanders is probably one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks that we've seen in the Big 12. And that's spanning his entire career. He'll play lights out one game, next game he's terrible. with that being said, their defense as well. They lost key pieces on that defense. Malcolm Rodriguez was the leader and heart and soul of that defense. He's gone now, and we've seen earlier in the year, they struggled when it came to the defensive side of the ball, losing Jim Knowles over to Ohio State. For goodness sakes, they gave up 44 points to Central Michigan.
Yeah, and the thing is, they play Baylor next week, so we're going to get to know right away if they're for real or not. Obviously, they played each other twice last year, and I believe they split both those games. They lost the Big 12 championship game, but then won the game in Stillwater. So that will be very interesting to see. I just don't believe in them. I haven't because of the quarterback position. If you're telling me you could throw it back to the days of a Brandon Weeden or a Zach Robinson, I would believe in this team much more. Because they do have their defense has gotten much better, but I just don't believe in Spencer Sanders. That's what it comes down to. Now, if you're telling me you get Spencer Sanders, how he's been playing the first 3 weeks of the season, they can easily win the Big 12, and they can make the college football playoff and probably get to a college football championship game if Spencer Sanders plays that well, but I don't see that happening.
I wouldn't go as far as making the playoff or whatever because I just don't think they have the defense for it. I think that they're rebuilding that defense. As good as a defensive coordinator that Derek Mason is, you bring in a new defensive coordinator and he installs his game plan. I know Jim Knowles has that 4-2-5 defense that he took over to Ohio State, and I think it'll take time for Derek Mason to install his. And I think we're seeing, with everything that they lost, and Central Michigan gave hits, and they gave up 17 against Arizona State, but I just don't trust defense to make it that far.
Well, guys, we gutted out a gritty win versus a good opponent. We're going into Big 12 play. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. I think this is going to do it for this week's post-game show. We will be back next week and probably with the video this week as well. But we'll be here for sure next week after the Texas Tech game. I believe that game is at 3:30 Eastern time on ABC or ESPN, depending where you are. So please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Join us next week. Go over to D4 Sports, hit his like button, subscribe to his channel. Go over to the Mark Rogers TV channel, subscribe to the main channel. Go over to the other channels and subscribe. Brandon, plug that Patreon one more time before we get out of here.
Yeah, man, Patreon, $5 a month. Hit it up. Get definitely good perks. Get Mark's Picks of the Week. Get to chat with guys, 24/7 on the Discord about college football, about your team. There's 90 people in there, and there's fans from all across the nation. Every team that you can think of in there. I'm in there as a Texas fan. I know Michigan fans will chop it up with the USC guys all the time. Just check it out. If you don't, try it out for a month. If you don't like it, you're out $5.
Yeah, guys, there's not many things that you can buy for $5 that are worth it like this. So please go over there and do that. And before we leave, hook 'em, guys. Hit that like button. Subscribe down below. Thank you.